only got 30% battery on this. Yikes. My name is John Courtois, and I am a freelance photographer. One of my biggest passions in photography is actually street photography at night. And the reason being is I actually saw a YouTube video on it when I first started, and it just looked really interesting. And the rules are totally different at night. Your exposure and your ISO and your aperture just don't work the same at night as they do during the daylight, because you just have so much little light to work with. You have to work with any ambient light that you have. And the biggest thing that I like about that is it challenges me as a photographer, and it also has given me kind of like a signature style. And I don't know if I'm, well-rooted enough to say that I have a signature style, but when people ask to work with me, they ask to do like my neon things and like, do my night shoots. When I'm working with different clients, I think the hardest thing to overcome is their personalities. Usually these people that I work with, I don't know them super well, and I have to kind of gauge what kind of person they are. So, for instance, if I have a client that is really shy and like awkward in front of a camera, but they're really physically attractive and they just don't know it. So I'd say just in general, the hardest part is dealing with different types of personalities. There's definitely some people that are much more comfortable in front of a camera and they're just naturally aware. And then there's some people who need a lot of coaching, and I think that's the biggest difficulty. My style is a lot of bursts because I like to catch, those smiles that only happen for a second, or those little subtle glances that people might give that just go by in an instant. And so my average photos that I take for one session are probably 700 to 1,000 photos, and then I get that down to about 50 or 60. The hardest part is actually selecting the photos. It's not necessarily editing, it's selecting the best. So I was always interested in photography. I just never actually did it. It was just something I appreciated for a long time. But what actually got me into doing it is back in 2018, the beginning of the year, I got really sick, and I almost died actually. And I had a life-saving surgery. And when that happened, I was stuck at home for a long time. And honestly, it was something that I thought maybe I could do without exerting a lot of energy, and just something I could really sink into because I was bored. But so I started to do that, and I just started to take pictures with a couple friends and have people model, and then it blossomed into a business that actually makes me money. And not only do I enjoy it, but I get paid for it. So it's honestly probably my biggest gift and my calling in what I'm doing in life. I like to capture moments because I think it's one of life's greatest joys. And it's really important to me that I get good moments because the people that I work with appreciate those extra smiles that much, or those, great expressions on their families' faces that much more when I actually deliver those, instead of just like a posed photo. And I think that's my biggest thing. I hate posing people. I like giving prompts to people. And I think the way I go about doing things just brings a really genuine look to my photos. Or at least I hope so. I think the thing that I'm most passionate about in photography is just general portraiture. I think it's really cool to just capture a human in any kind of element. And I think that, God blessed us with amazing creatures that were made in His image, and I think it's really important to capture that. And so I do love families and weddings and things like that, and just different events, but I think it's just important that my subject is usually a person. Like, landscapes are gorgeous, and I think if I had the, drive to do them more, I just would, but I just think people are so much more individual than a mountain is, or than a sunset that you've seen a million times. Not saying it's not beautiful, but I think just seeing different people in life is like a really beautiful thing. And it really makes me happy to take a cool picture of someone and they just appreciate how they look a little bit more. Because I know I struggle with self-confidence issues just like a ton of people do. And when someone takes a really cool photo of me, it always makes me smile. And I just like to do the same for other people.